Well, welcome to another edition of Kitchen Conversations. Today we have on one of our favorite guests. We have Connor Pardoe, the founder, CEO of PPA, and the owner of the Utah Black Diamonds MLP team. He is one of the visionaries of the sport, and we are happy to have him here. Before we welcome Connor to the show, I want to shout out one of our sponsors, Fat Tire Beer. Fat Tire, one of the best beers out there. New Belgium Breweries, great sponsor. Thank you.
Jason's drinking in the middle of the day.
It's for the sponsors. It's for the
True.
sponsors.
That's fair.
Connor, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on, guys. It's been a while. I think
Yes.
I'm a third-time guest. That's got to be going up there with some of the people. So excited to be back on with you guys.
First ever third-time guest.
There we go. Drum roll.
This is good. Connor, how you seem so positive. You look so young. I know you are young, but I feel like the last few weeks in pickleball have been pretty tumultuous. You look like you have weathered the storm and come out. You look like sunshine. How do you do it?
Yeah, no.
Did you just say he looks weathered?
What?
Oh, weathered the storm. All right.
Yeah, I
think
said
you look
weathered the
great.
storm.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I look about half as good as you with that mustache going on. I don't know if that's allowed or if that's legal or what's happening here.
It's outlawed in
Don't get me
7
started on
states.
that thing.
This thing is outlawed in 7 states.
Yeah, but no, doing great. I mean, gosh, who would have ever thought the last 45 days or so would have been the way they were for the sport of pickleball? But man, we're in a great place, and we're just excited to watch the sport grow.
We are moving into 3 of the biggest tournaments to happen. We have MLP Dallas, we have Nationals, and then, of course, we have the Kitchen Open. I know that you are excited for all of these. Tell us a little bit about Nationals first. This is a kind of co-op with PPA and USA Pickleball. How did this all transpire? How did we manage to get it over to Brookhaven Country Club in Dallas, away from California? Tell me a little bit about how that all worked.
Yeah, no, it's obviously one of the biggest stories. It'd probably be one of the biggest stories we're all talking about if we didn't have these last 45 days or so that we had. But we're super excited. We have a tournament that historically has been super important to the sport, and I think it's been monumental. And USA Pickleball has done a great job being a part of it. The way I put it is like Tom. He likes to do work and business with the biggest and best things in pickleball. And I think we have a track record of doing that, with Pickleball Central, pickleballtournaments.com, the PPA Tour, now working with USA Pickleball, finding a way to work with MLP when it seemed impossible, everything kind of coming together. And so this is just one of those things, trying to bring the best of the best together. And how do we optimize and grow and bring as much exposure as we can to the sport by all doing what we do well? Honestly, I had never worked with USA Pickleball until this year. And so if you actually go back into like the drama of pickleball, one of the big things is when we started the PPA Tour, we decided not to sanction our tournaments. And there was a big thing where, APP sanctioned, PPA is not, support the governing body, other things. And it's just been fun to watch, USA Pickleball evolve and change too. I mean, when I feel like a grandpa in the sport. I came in when I was 24 years old when we started the PPA Tour. I'm 29 now, just barely had a birthday. And over the last 5 years, thank you. Over the last 5 years, we've really seen pickleball grow everywhere, no matter what it is, new organizations. And USA Pickleball, like, they've done a sneaky, really nice job growing. Like, they now have a staff of about coming close to 30. I think they're figuring out, what's important to them and identity, a new CEO who's done a lot of work in such a short amount of time. And so we're just excited to be partners. When we were thinking nationals, one of the things is, California wasn't super accessible for everybody. The nicest part about Dallas, where we're at actually here, we actually office 15 minutes away from Brookhaven. And anyone can get here. Like, anyone can get here so easily. There's flights in all day long. It's central. And, the numbers are proving it. It's going to be record-setting attendance. We've already sold 3,000 tickets for Saturday, semifinal Saturday, which is going to be awesome.
Spectator tickets or
yeah, spectators. So 4,000 people have bought tickets to just come watch Saturday, which is literally, I mean, it's awesome. Like, and then 4,000 players. So 3,000 spectators, 4,000 players. We're getting close to that 4,000 number. We have a few brackets that are still open, but we're going to have like 88 odd courts going, and it's going to be a big fun party.
That's amazing. One of the exciting parts about the end of the PPA season, which was really kind of just announced, I really didn't know much about it, but I saw the race. This is the points kind of battle to get to the top 10, I believe. Is that right? They're looking for a top 10 or top 8?
Yeah, so it's top 8, and in doubles it would be top 8 teams, so that would put you to 16.
Okay, so top 8 for all the different divisions. So mixed, gender, singles, and we're now going to have a competition that's going to get played out. Where is that going to be played out?
So that will be in San Clemente, where we hold the Orange County Cup. Obviously a beautiful venue, but for us, it's been something that we've wanted to promote and we've wanted to tell the story throughout the year. It was always part of the plan. I think the mistake we made is we have this beautiful new studio here. I don't know if people have seen it. If you haven't, go check out our YouTube page. You can see Dave Fleming with this beautiful LED screen in the back. And part of our vision always was telling the story is showing week over week how players either move up in the standings or they move down, and having a cut line. And these people have clinched and these people are on the edge. And we were supposed to have that done months ago. Obviously, it took a little longer. And so 2 days after we had that studio in, we promoted the show and we put it out there. Better late than never. But I think it's going to be a really fun thing to follow. Like, not just this year, but as we talk about subsequent years down the road, we're going to be able to look at that race. And what's different about your race points and your ranking points is, and a lot of people don't know this, so hopefully this is educational. The PPA Tour, with your tour ranking, we take your best 16 results over a 52-week period. So we have events that are considered Grand Slams, we have Cups, and then we have Opens, which all Grand Slams are worth 2,000 points, the Cups are worth 1,500s, the Opens are worth 1,000. And we take your best 16 results over a 52-week period. So if you miss an event, it doesn't necessarily hurt you as long as you have 16 active tournaments over 52 weeks. What's different about the race is that when you look at the race, like when we start next year, the race, you're going to see who is qualified to get into the PPA finals like right then and right now if the season ended. So at the end of the year, your race ranking and your tour ranking will always be the same. But like you take someone like Federico Stackstrid, he was actually ahead of Ben in the race this year. And so, like, especially as we talk about Jack Sock and new people coming in, a real accurate way to see like how are they performing today, right here, right now, you're going to be able to look at their race ranking. But then you take somebody like a Lucy Kovalova, Matt Wright, like some of our veterans, you'll be able to say, hey, this is their cumulative rating over the last 52 weeks. So you'll pull a player profile and you'll be able to see both.
So let me get this straight. So the 52-week rolling one, that's just taking 16 of your best over the past 52 weeks, right? And then the race is everything that you've participated in. You're counting all those points towards...
Yeah, so you start at 0 January 1st, and we still take your best 16 results, but you start at 0 in January, and then each week you're going to see who's in, who's out.
Right, and the 52 rolling weeks is at any 52 weeks, right? It's go 52 weeks back at any point of the year. Okay, so that's why now we're getting towards the end of the year.
Exactly. Right. Like we're October 17th right now. Like if there was
numbers are getting similar. Right. Got it.
And so like if there was an event,
what's the point of tallying the best 16 weeks? Did I miss
the reason
that?
we took 16 is because we think that players, they can't play every event. Like this year we have 25, so if Ben Johns can only make it to 16 events, he doesn't get penalized and get zeros. So the big thing is like you got to play 16 weeks for your ranking. Like if you think about it in school, like if you get a 0 and you only play 15 weeks, that really hurts. Like, even my dad used to always say, like, even if you didn't study, go take the test. If you can get 50%, it's way better than a 0. Because if you get an A on your next paper, you take the cumulative and it's still an F instead of a C, right?
Your dad really gave you that advice? That's horrible. That's horrible advice. Why were you ever in a position to get a 0? Hold on. When were you ever in a position to get a 0?
For me, like this is what was asked of me, and I'm trying to figure out how I do it with my kids now that just turned 4 this week as well. Is I was always told like as long as you get B's, you're fine. And so guess what? Every single grade I got was a B- or a B. I never got a C. I never got an A.
I actually think that's great advice versus you have to get A's.
See, my wife was 4.0 valedictorian. Like there was a lot of pressure, and I see like okay, there was a lot of benefits from that, but like. Mine was like, get B's, but I always got B's. I never got an A. I never got a C. Always B's.
Well, it's like Jared is trying to be a 3.5 in Duper, and he's right there.
Actually, I
He
think
needs a lot of work. From the last time we
tied.
played,
I'm like a 4-2-3, and I think Jason and I are actually very similar. And the last time we played Connor, what happened?
Well, let me just say the Duper algorithm might be broken. I have come back to the mean, and I'm back with Jared.
No, I would say by playing against you, I would for sure say Jason's a stronger player.
That is so wrong. I think he's laughing. We know that's a falsity.
Please,
so good.
We'll cut that part out.
I mean, your guys' record against me is pretty strong. I mean, you guys are probably 4-1 against me. So I played the MLP event where you got to play with like a pro, and it's really hard to find things in life that you can go 0-5 in. But somehow I found one. I literally went 0-5. Like,
who did you play with?
I played with Irina, and she was probably the best pro. She was the best pro, and I mean that says a lot about my game. Says a lot about my game.
You're doing bigger and better things. You know, we've moved on from focusing on how good we can be at pickleball, unfortunately.
Hey, Connor, what is the prize for the race? Is there a monetary gain here? Is this a cash prize, or is it a trophy? Is it prestige? What is at stake here?
Yeah, so we have 2 cars that are going to be given to the team that wins mixed doubles. Those are from Carvana, so that's part of their sponsorship deal with us. So someone's going to need to upset Annalie and Ben, which I think they can, by the way.
One upset, will that do it?
Yes, that would do it, because the way that it works is these points, they qualify you to get to the PPA finals at the end of the year. And then what we do is we're going to have 2 different pools. So there's going to be pool 1 and pool 2, or pool A and pool B. The best 2 teams out of each pool come out, and then you play the semifinals and the final.
They'd have to beat them at that tournament.
They'd have to beat them at that tournament. Whoever plays them in the final, if they beat them, yes, they would get the cars from Carvana, which will be pretty cool.
Have they ever lost more than 1 game in a match?
They have. They've lost a match. They lost the JW in Georgia this year. That's their only mixed doubles match that they've lost. They've also had a couple tough matches with AJ's stretched them a few times. Vivian and Thomas have stretched them a few times. What's unique about the race, the way that the race is going to work, is it's kind of like, think of recess when you used to play kickball and everybody lines up and you get to choose who you're going to play with.
This is bad memories for Jared. Sorry, Jared.
I was actually very good at kickball, and my athletic career peaked in middle school. So
yeah, me and you both. My wife and I actually played on a co-ed kickball team for like 4 years when we first got married. It was so fun. But anyways, the way that it will work is whoever has the number 1 ranking. So let's say, for instance, for men's doubles, it's Ben. He will get to choose any of because there's 16 people that qualify to make 8 teams. He'll get to choose who he wants to play with. So Ben has the first pick because he's the number 1 ranking. So Ben will pick Colin. The next person that has the pick is JW. JW will probably pick Dylan. The next person is Matt Wright. And so the question is, like, will Matt Wright pick Riley or will he pick James Ignatowicz? Like, I don't know. Same thing goes for mixed, right? And so you might see something where you could have a Catherine playing with Riley. And there's all sorts of things that we may see. You could have Anna Bright choosing Riley instead of James. So you could see some unique matchups. We'll see.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
I like that.
And the question is, like, will Ben pick Colin? You would think so, but we've seen it in MLP where he didn't.
Yeah, he might pick Tyler Loom. Who knows?
That's right. He's not eligible. Or Eric.
Yeah,
who knows?
Those guys won't actually be eligible. Yeah, they won't be in the top 16. But
Maybe
he could take
Matt.
someone. Right?
He could take Matt. He could take Matt. Yeah.
You know, they play really well together.
A little drama there.
He could take Riley. He could take JW. I mean, he could take whoever he wants.
Do you guys ever try, speaking of drama, I sometimes see when there's like, you know, the week before there's a big dramatic moment between 2 teams or 2 players, and then magically the next week they're facing each other in the second round. Is that ever done by design?
You know, I've gotten accused of that quite a bit. But no, I mean, the way that we do our seeding, it is random. However, you do see people that play a lot the previous weeks just because where their ranking points stack up. There's like a 1 in 3 or a 1 in 4 chance that you'll see that matchup again. And so probability is actually pretty high. So like we saw like a Tyson playing Tyler, and I'm getting a text message from Tyler like, come on, like I've lost to this guy 3 times in a row. I have to do it again. You know, and that just happened the way it happened. I actually haven't been a part of doing seedings for probably 24 months or so. So like we have our pro player director, we bring a random pro player on the call. They watch it, make sure everything's above water. And so it's obviously been something that players have wanted visibility to be able to see, and that they've had that. But I'd be lying to you if I said like, hey, our first year, no, I chose who was playing who. Like there was no rhythm, there was no, like, we didn't even have a ranking. Like I just said, you know what, I think it'd be fun for these two to hopefully match up in the semis. But that evolved and that changed as we grew up.
I think that's cool. It's kind of like WWF. You know, you match up the drama and
can't have gambling that way. Got to be buttoned up. Yeah. Let me ask them about Ben and Anna Leigh. They are obviously continuing to cruise through these seeds. Are they too good for this sport? Do they present a problem? Would it be better television if we knew that one of them could get beat at any time?
Yeah. I mean, look, I get asked this question a lot. I think you guys actually asked me this question the last 2 times I was on this podcast. So, like, it's been the same. Like, that means the first time I came on was probably 18 months ago or 2 years ago, whenever we started this. And my answer is always the same. Like, having dominance in the sport is a good thing. One day someone will beat Ben and Anna Leigh, and that's going to be a story. But the only thing that we can really point to is, like, the stats and the actual analytics. And, like, there is a Ben Johns and an Anna Leigh factor when it comes to viewership. Like, if you take a quarterfinal that Ben's playing in, and you take a quarterfinal that anyone else is playing in, and you go back and you actually add up the viewership, then Ben is about 6 times more watched than other people. So, like, maybe some of the pickleball people that are the junkies are like, man, we're seeing a lot of the same stuff. But there's a lot of people out there that want to watch the best in the world play. And Anna Leigh and Ben obviously tick those boxes.
For sure. Yeah, and I think, we want name recognition, right? We want people that we know that dominate. We like watching them dominate. I think we also like rooting against people who dominate, and that's kind of fun also. We're rooting for the underdog. It doesn't seem to happen very often that we get what we're rooting for, but their dominance is special, and I do think that we'll look back at this time as pretty magical. It's like watching Tiger Woods in his prime. It's kind of unbelievable. Because I don't know if we'll see this again, because I think it's going to get tighter and tighter, and more talent's going to come into this game.
100%. Like Jack Sock sent me a picture today of him of his new pickleball court in his backyard, and he's like, people don't know what's coming, and I was like, well, someone needs to humble your ass, and he calls me and he's like, are you serious? I'm like, no, I'm just kidding. But you've got people in here that think they're going to be the best. Like Jack thinks he's going to be the best player next year, and the guy's an athlete. Like, it might take a little bit of time, but
he's not beating Ben.
He's going to be good. He's going to be tough.
He's not beating Ben, and he's not going to get good enough partner in doubles to beat Ben.
Yeah. Well,
I don't think so. I mean, prove me wrong, Jack.
He'll be announcing his partner soon. I think people are willing to gamble on the upside of Jack, and we're not just seeing.
I'm assuming it's Riley.
I don't know who his men's partner is. I know who his mixed partner is, and she's pretty good. But I'm going to let those guys break the news. And
should be Anna Bright.
James might have an issue with that.
James is playing well right now if he can figure those ankles out.
So Anna Bright's been playing great, but Anna Leigh unveiled a new paddle last week, I guess at MLP. That kind of made some news. It's not released yet, but new paddle tech. First time she'll be using new technology in quite some time. She's been using the same paddle since she began. Mm-hmm. Everyone always has kind of issues. I think there's always whispers on the tour that, like, man, her paddle's hot, and everyone thinks that there's something going on. But she continues to win, continues to dominate. Nothing's ever wrong with her paddle when it gets tested. But I do have questions about the testing. I know that there was a little bit of noise this past week that paddles that did not pass at MLP were not being tested the same way at PPA. And is there, just to be clear about this, there is no on-site deflection or dwell time at a PPA event. Is that right? You have ultrasound and you have grit test, right?
Yeah, I think this is what it really comes down to is we want the people playing with equipment that's as fair as possible across the board for everybody. And that's one of the awesome things about this MLP PPA merger is we're going to take the best of the best. What are the best things that MLP is doing? What are the best things PPA Tour is doing? And what I'm looking forward to is not everything's going to sit on one individual anymore either. Like, we're going to have a committee. We're going to put the best people in a room that are the best in that specific subject. And we're going to make decisions not not individually, but we're going to make them as a group. And, paddle testing is one of these. Like we're trying to understand. We've gotten a lot of data this year. Someone that tells you that it's worse than it was last year's lying to you. It's so much better. It's been, it's so much better than where it was. Is it perfect? No. And so, I think there's a few vocal players that claim to know more than the people that are actually running the events and running the tours and running the leagues. And let's make sure that we're fact checking and we're really trying to understand the information they're giving us as well. But look, is it perfect between the two? And are we doing everything the exact same? No, we're not. But
so let me ask you this, because you are obviously involved in both MLP and PPA. There's a reason why you don't have this for PPA. PPA has gone with USA Pickleball's kind of recommendation. I know Carl Schmitz is on site at times. He introduced the ultraviolet, or not ultraviolet, the ultrasound testing to figure out if things were delaminated or there was core crush. Obviously the Starrett testing for grit. All great advances. I mean, these are things that were not being done last year. And so we've rooted out some of that. And as we have things unfold, I know that MLP was using a different system to test. Now, I don't know if that was ever made public, what the results were from PPA or from MLP, which I'd love to see, because some things got tested okay for PPA that didn't in MLP. And I heard anecdotally that people were giving in the same paddles 2 days in a row at MLP. It didn't pass the day before, it did pass the next day. So I'd love to see some of the data on that.
I think the answer here is we've been able to pull a lot more data. It's better than it was yesterday. Is it perfect where it needs to be tomorrow? No. But what you are getting is you're getting the best individuals in a room and everybody trying to understand the data and a committee making the decision. And USA Pickleball is our partner. We're leaning on them. They pass paddles. They have specification policies. Most of what we've done, we're not here to take credit for it all. We've outsourced it to USA Pickleball and they've done a fine job. And so is there things that they're doing right now that are different than MLP? Yes. Is most of it the same? Yes. Do we need to take the best of the best and figure out there's a few things, one, it has to be cost effective. 2, it needs to be, fair. 3, it needs to be done the same way each and every week. Those are things that we're all going to learn. And my gosh, isn't this such a great time to be in the sport of pickleball, because the best of the best are all coming together and trying to figure out how we move forward together. And we haven't had that in pickleball. And the fact that we're all doing that together now, I feel real lucky to be a part of it. And there's some awesome individuals that are going to try to make sure this sport grows the right way.
Yeah, and you obviously made a deliberate move towards tennis players as that whole frenzy was going on with signing players, and it looked like PPA pivoted pretty heavily towards tennis athletes, I will say. Tell me your thinking behind that. Obviously, they were there. They can make money in this game now. It feels like a great transition for people who have had success, but also for kids out there that are grinding away that can translate their skills over to this amazing new sport and find a viable way to make a living.
Yeah, the tennis route was one we were going to continue to go down if the groups would have stayed separate. But really the rationale behind it is you wouldn't believe how many tennis players had reached out saying, hey, I'm ready to go pickleball full time when you're ready. And once those numbers got to a certain point, then you decide, hey, I'm going to start taking some chances on some other players and some other stuff that we haven't seen, because the amount of money that players are being paid, we're now in these ranges of these players that had been reaching out to me and to our group for years. And then we know, okay, these guys are going to be available. We made one call. And then, once one tennis player went, another one came, and you guys should have seen it. I think we're probably still haven't gotten back to every tennis player that's played on the ATP Tour or high-level college tennis that reached out wanting a contract, and I was like, hey, where were you 30 days ago? But
is Jeannie going to play?
She is, and she's a good player. I think we'll see with her, singles will come first. So we sent out our pro player director, Dylan Seeger, and he went out and played with her for 10 days straight. Just trying to help her learn the nuances. She's a pro singles player right now today. And she would take off some matches. She'll win some matches.
3-5 doubles.
Take some games off people. Go ahead.
3-5 doubles.
No, I don't know exactly what her rating would be. For sure, she'd be better than you, and Jared.
You think? Lunch game, let's do it.
Singles, you'd be lucky to get 4. Doubles, maybe you get 5 or 6. So
No
we'll
chance.
see.
I will put equity up that I beat her in doubles.
What equity? Your equity of your company?
Yes. Jason,
Okay.
can I do that?
Is it a one-way? Like, it's for
I don't
views.
think it's a good idea.
I guess
I
it's a
think I could
one-way
beat
call.
Jeannie Bouchard. I think you and I can beat Jeannie. And who's another tennis woman that came in?
I don't know, like who you would want to take. There's a lot of people that play tennis that came over. But yeah,
Pick
you
one.
think you and
Let's do
Jeannie
it.
could beat you two could beat, Jeannie and Donald Young?
I play against Donald Young. He hits the crap out of the ball. Lefty.
Okay, not Donald Young, not him. Anyways, I'll think on it. But if you could help set that up, I'd appreciate it.
Hey, you've got my number. I'm only one text away.
Connor, so obviously the PPA is a Dura ball
Uh-huh.
league. How long is that contract? If you can tell me that. Do you ever foresee a day when I feel like ball technology is getting closer to having viable options out there now?
Yes.
Do you ever see a day when we have different stops on the tour playing different balls in different conditions, and it kind of makes it a little bit interesting? I think some players will be, more Dura-friendly players. Some will be Franklin players. Some will be, we have Selkirk and Yola, all these new balls, Core, Oso, you name it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I mean, I love the folks over at Onyx, Escalade Sports. They're the ones that own the Dura. Like, kind of a fun fact, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but before Tom Dundon and I got involved with Pickleball Central actually created and owned the Dura, which is kind of cool. I wish we would have never sold it, but it ended up getting sold by David Johnson and the Pickleball Central group back to Escalade Sports. It would have been like 2 years before I came into the sport, so it would have been around like 2018, 2017. And
So Escalade started it and then sold it to
No.
Pickleball Central?
Pickleball Central started it. Pickleball Inc.,
Wow.
which is the original manufacturer, started the ball. Ended up selling it to Onyx when they came into the sport, which is managed by Escalade Sports. Pickleball Central needed a bigger warehouse, needed a couple $1 million, sold the ball. And I think that's kind of like, that's unique because the Dura's been around a long time and it was developed by the original pickleball company. When I came into the sport, I knew the very first sponsorship deal we could really do would be with the ball. And so I pitched Franklin. That was my very first sales call I ever had, was with Franklin. I was with Connor Ogden, and they were very skeptical.
Aaron or Adam?
I was with Adam. I wasn't good enough to get on the phone with Adam. No way I was getting any of Adam's time. But I got on with Aaron and then a guy they have named Chris. And I think they were like, who are these lunatics thinking they're going to start a pro tour? And, we ended up deciding to go with the Durafast and Onyx just really because the pros wanted to play with it back then because it was the normal ball that everyone used. I remember Lee Waters texting me, like, I don't know if I'm going to play your tour if I don't use the Dura. So, they were very adamant. And so we used the Dura ball, and we signed a 2-year deal with them. Our deal came up. They had first right of refusal. I went to Jay. We ended up signing another 2-year deal, and that expires at the end of this year. So we've put an RFP out, request for proposal, basically to all brands because there's a lot of people trying to get into the ball space now. I think the ball's interesting, especially with paddle technology increasing, that there's one thing that you have a constant, no matter what, it's the ball. That's your constant. The ball's not changing. I've got our tour, our group, our organization has complete control over the ball.
Yep.
So I think it's interesting. So do I think we'll always be with the Dura? They've been really good partners. We've really liked working with them. They've always done everything they said that they're going to do, and they've always exceeded expectations.
Will they be able to
We've
afford
got
a
a lot of things that we
10x
have to look at.
increase?
What'd you say?
Will they be able to afford a 10x increase?
yeah.
I've heard the Selkirk ball is good. I've not played with it. The new Yola ball is very good.
Yes.
And then I've heard that Franklin is going to be coming out with a pretty amazing new ball. Yeah,
so you've got for us, we've basically narrowed it down to 5 companies. It actually might be 4 now. Let me list them off. So we have obviously the Dura. I went out and we kind of are on this ball tour. I almost feel like we're choosing a college and we're going around and meeting with everybody. So we went and we met with Franklin. We went out to their headquarters. Amazing place, by the way. Like, blew my mind. Like, it was very similar to when I went into Skechers for the first time. Like, I went out there, like, it blew my mind, like, how sophisticated they were, how much they're doing, how much staff they have. They have this amazing showroom. J.W. Johnson's famous, by the way. He's everywhere. But, so we went out there, and, yes, they're making a new pro ball. It's much harder. They have a court there. We went and played a match with the ball, and the ball played great. So we went out there. They haven't debuted that ball yet. We went and met with Vulcan. Vulcans came out with the ball, which is a tremendous ball, really good ball, plays well. We also had the Selkirk guys at our office on Wednesday, and so we played their ball, and their ball's playing great too. And so that's really where we're at right now. We've got Vulcan, we've got Dura, we've got Franklin, we've got Selkirk. Those are the 4 people that we've narrowed it down to.
No Yola.
Yeah, Yola, we're in conversations with them, with the RFP. We love the ball. We think it's a really good ball, but we've narrowed down to the 4. Like, and you can't go wrong with the Yola ball. Like, I would play the Yola ball, have no problem with it. I think it's a great ball, and it plays really well. Maybe one of the best, but just the economics and the RFP, they kind of came in the game late when it came like putting forth a proposal. I think they just were a little behind, and just the economics that have been offered already from the other companies so far just it's a little bit further down the road.
Connor, I heard the other day someone asked Ben, and I think they asked Zane as well, if there was one rule that they could change in pickleball, what would it be? And I thought they had some interesting answers to it. Since you can change these rules, if there was one rule that you would change, what would it be?
Yeah, like, let's be clear. I can't change any of the rules. Like, I'm a piece of the puzzle. I'm, one of the people that make the decisions. There's a lot of people that make decisions here. But if there was a rule to change and I wanted to make it changed, I know the right people to talk to and the right people to put in a room to try to change a rule. For me, I'm a big believer that, like, don't fix, like, what's not broken. Like, I think the sport's growing so fast. It's doing so great. Like, there's nothing that really sticks out to me where I go, that's really dumb. That doesn't make a ton of sense. Like, there's some nuances. Like, one of the things that we did is, we're one of the first people to start getting pickleball on TV. And I remember talking to the folks over at Fox, and they're like, gosh, why does the ref always, like, why does Riley Newman, it was him in specific, always hold the ball and say, am I in the right spot, or am I good? And so we obviously changed that on our side, where the referees won't call the score unless they're in the right position. If Riley's on the wrong side, he'll say, Riley, you need to switch sides. Mm-hmm. And so we just thought it was silly. It made the sport look funny. Everyone's always saying, am I good? Am I right? And a lot of people, they kind of gave us flack for that because they're like, it's part of the game. They're professionals. They need to remember. If amateurs need to remember, they do too. Like, quite frankly, the TV people didn't like it. It looked hokey. So we changed it. So, like, little nuances like that, but I'm a big fundamental believer in the fundamental of the sport. Like, it's doing great. It's growing. We're seeing so much tremendous growth. And if there was something players wanted changed, or something that our group wanted to change, like, we're going to listen, we're going to try to understand, and if it makes sense, we're going to try to make the right decision every time. So I'm not opposed to change, but I'm not the type of person that's I don't really think there's a whole lot that does need to be changed.
I assume you heard Ben's answer to this, which was extend out the net 6 inches to a foot on either side, because it would increase your ability to hit angles and not worry about ATPs when you're dinking. And that, he thought, would make the game more aggressive and get rid of some of these dink battles of being too cautious to go too far wide because you're setting yourself for an aggressive ATP.
Wait, I'm confused.
Yeah.
So if you extend it out, wouldn't that
allow you to be more aggressive and not worry about ATPs as much?
Yeah, I think the way to put it, Jared, is like at the lower level play, like, it would maybe not be the best thing because it would limit ATPs. But at the pro level, there's so many times where they want to try to move the people out wide, where they're a little nervous because these people are, like, we've seen the ATP evolve over the last 3 years, where when I started, if you hit an ATP, it was a winner. And Kyle Yates would hit, and now if the ball doesn't come back, it's surprising. Like, the ball comes back.
Jared, have you seen the digital boards at the PPA events now? They used to say wow, now they say meh.
That's pretty good.
I'll edit that out.
But I think if you did widen the net posts, that would be more interesting of someone having to go out wide. Now you can speed up middle. It's a little bit more of a benefit to be a little more athletic. You need to move a little more. Like, this is probably good for people like Julian Arnold and Colin Schick and Jack Sock and people that like to move, and Tyler Loom can cover a lot of court. I think it's interesting. We haven't yet talked about it. I actually saw Zane say it, not Ben. So I didn't know Ben said the same thing. So that's interesting.
It might have been Zane. I remember both of them. I want to say they both said it, but yeah, it might have been. Yeah, definitely one of the two of them said it.
If Zane said it, let's not take it too seriously. Ben, it matters.
No, it matters for both. They're both important.
Connor, where are we in the big picture of pickleball? Obviously, you've seen such tremendous growth since your entry 5 years ago. Where are we in the big picture? Like, can you think about this? How big can this get? Where are we in that roadmap, and where do you see it going?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a great question. I would be 100% lying to you if I said, hey, when I was 24 years old, I thought pickleball was going to get this big this fast. I saw a game that I loved and an awesome opportunity to get in, and it was relatively cheap to come in and run a pro organization and a pro sport compared to anything else you could do. And then, like, my gosh, this thing has just grown like crazy, and we've seen so many great players come in, so many great individuals that have been business leaders. I've had a lot of mentors come in. We've seen a sport just explode, like from TV to media. Like, look at what y'all have done. I remember meeting Jared the first time at my house. I was like 40 pounds lighter, but we went outside and we played pickleball, and I remember hearing everything that you guys wanted to do with the kitchen, and I kept saying, I remember talking to my wife that night. I'm like, I really liked him, but I don't get it. Like, how are they ever going to make money? Like, how is this ever going to... And now I look at what you guys got.
I remember you saying, we were sitting in your office, you're like, so you're just a Facebook group, right? I was like, well, we are, but we're going to be so much more.
But what was in my brain is like, this guy better not compete with me.
I made a promise never to get into the pro pickleball, and we've held true to that promise.
No, you did. And like, look at all the cool stuff you guys have done. And so, like, I mean, you can just look at the kitchen, look at the PPA, look at pro players and where they were yesterday, and where they are today. And now the big question is like, where are we going tomorrow? And when I first got in, and I was about 6 months in, I made a goal. I said, I looked right at the AVP Beach Volleyball Tour, and I said, I circled it, and I said, I want to be bigger than that. Like, and like, we've passed that. Our revenues are way past that. Like, people playing is way, 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 way past, volleyball, like sand volleyball AVP. And like, some people say, well, no, it's not. You're not in the Olympics. Like, as a pro sport, like pro compensation, what players make, even before all this craziness happened 30 days ago, we were head and shoulders above what the AVP's doing. There's his free tickets. Like, it looks better. It presents better. Like, we're in a great spot. But like, talking about like where we're going to go tomorrow, like, I know it's going to grow more than it did the previous 4 years. Like, the growth that we've seen the last 4 years, I know the next 4 years we're going to see way more growth in that amount of time. But it's almost like it's so big, like, I don't know where the goalposts are. Like, the big thing for me is like, and you probably said this, I sound like a broken record anytime I go on any of these, but our goal is a little bit bigger, a little bit better each and every day. And that has to do with the way it presents, the way that it looks, the way that it's looked on TV, our financials, our growth as a company, a little bit bigger, a little bit better each and every day. Put your head down, and you're going to mess up. You're going to do a lot of things that aren't very good. But hopefully when you do look up, you can look back and say, man, look how cool this is. Look at how far we've come. And so that's what we're trying to focus on each day.
Let me ask you a question. Do you see, with weather being a factor in some of these tournaments, do you see indoor tournaments becoming more the norm down the road?
Yeah, like look, for the PPA Tour, we obviously retrofit a bunch of tennis centers. And you really need those courts to be 60 by 120 to really come in and be able to build it. I think a big hurdle that we have is people that built indoor tennis centers, they all skimped and they made them skinnier, they made them shorter, they made them less wide. So it really prohibits what we can do today when we talk about indoor. But as we talk about pickleball growing, more dedicated venues, more things that are built for pickleball from the beginning, once we can see some of these venues getting around 32 courts, I love indoor. Like, trust me, like, I literally just had a meeting 30 minutes ago. Like, what are we going to do when it rains one day for nationals? It's going to rain one day. Like, it's Texas in November. Like, how are we going to handle it? Like, what are we going to do? Like, we just decided to pivot and make a championship court B indoor inside the barn. Like, and if those are things that you don't have to worry about, like for setup, for takedown, and for us, we're a traveling circus. We're 4 semi-trucks in, 4 semi-trucks out. Like, if we can eliminate that variable, like, I'm for it all day. It's just, there's just not very many places right now where we can do it.
How many staff members do you have putting together each tournament?
So we send anywhere between 20 to 30 to each event. They're not there the whole time. Like, some people hit the front end. Some people are there the whole time. Some people just come for tournament days. Some people come on the back end. But between 20 to 30, and then we'll contract out about another 16 or so staff.
So the 20 to 30 are all PPA employees?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Like, the one thing I love the volunteer program. I think it's great. Like, but the one thing you can always control is like the competency of your own employees. Like, you know what you're going to get. And like, you get some volunteers where you're like, oh my gosh, like, you're better than any employee I have. Like, you're amazing. I wish you were like, I wish you were here all year long. Like Chris Wolf in Atlanta. Like, what I would give to have that guy just work for us. The guy's amazing. But then all of a sudden you're like, I've got 20 volunteers, and it only equates to 3.5 staff members. So, trying to manage a P&L, but also have experience and try to keep brand quality. We found that having employees go and operate these events has been really important.
Tell us a little bit about pickleball.com. I know that I thought the website was supposed to launch maybe yesterday or over the weekend. How close are we to that new launch? And tell us a little bit about the whole ecosystem of what you guys are building out over there.
Yeah, we have a lot of really fun stuff happening right now. Like, there's 3 really big things that I'm like so excited for. I feel like it's like building a house. Like, when my wife and I built our house, it's like, hey, we're going to be in October, and we ended up getting in February. So it feels very much like that. But what I can tell you is, like, what we have for pickleball.com right now, it's just like literally a placeholder. It's just sitting there while we've been building really what's been inside like Tom Dundon's head. When we did our acquisition of all the companies, one of the valuable assets that Pickleball Central owned was that URL, pickleball.com. Mm-hmm. And for us, we think it's a place where it's all things pickleball. Come for all information, whether it be PPA Tour, MLP, APP, USA Pickleball. Pickleballs are too loud in New York, and we're shutting down courts. And it's going to be kind of the gateway drug to all the other businesses we have, all of our verticals. We have Pickleball Central, which is the #1 online retailer. We have pickleball tournaments and pickleball brackets, which is, our SaaS-based tournament software. Pickleball.com will serve more as like a media location to be able to come to whether it be for pros or amateurs, for me to be able to see what my ranking is, what my records are. I can pull up Jason and I can pull up Jared. I can look up at head-to-head if you've played rec leagues and rec games and logged them, or if you've played any tournament ever against each other or with each other, win probability. So there's going to be a whole lot that sits here. Yes, it was supposed to launch on the 15th. Our content group just barely got access on the 14th. So they're like, Connor, we can push it out, but it's not going to look the exact way we want it. So I'm like, you know what? Let's launch it the week of Nationals. Like, let's breathe. Let's launch it the week of Nationals. So that's going to launch then. So that's #1. #2, our tournament software. You guys probably saw that we went from pickleball tournaments to pickleball brackets. Mm-hmm. While we did that transition, we a new front end to pickleballtournaments.com. It looks and new functions that are similar to brackets. So that will debut on the same day. So pickleballtournaments.com is the official home. Brackets is going to sunset. That will go away. And that domain is obviously super powerful, the amount of people that come there. So Pickleball Tournaments is revamped. It's done. It's ready to go.
Nice.
And then the third one is Pickleball TV. Like, you guys probably saw the announcement, but we've got a joint venture with Tennis Channel where it's a 24/7, media channel where you can watch pickleball all day, every day. And that's going to be debuting for Nationals. So it's a big week. That first week of November for us we got a lot going on. I'm sure we'll screw some of it up, but we're pretty excited.
Might the kitchen have a pickleball TV show?
That's what I hear.
We might screw it up. Some things are going to be screwed up.
We're hoping, like, we're wanting to get you guys involved with Pickleball TV, pickleball.com. I mean, we've got a date. We got a date set to get together here. Bring you out to the office. So, but I was with the Bob Wiley, who runs Tennis Channel, yesterday, and he's like, I've been talking to the kitchen. I'm like, I'm like, that's great. We'd love to do it. So, I mean, that's really up to them as far as programming goes.
Cool. Hey, I'll finish on this because I know we've taken up enough of your time. Gambling. There was a lot of excitement about gambling coming into the sport. Obviously, it fuels a lot of different things. FanDuel debuted it a few weeks ago, but then they kind of hit pause. And I wanted to hear about that. Are we going to have gambling coming back? Is it live right now? Where does it stand?
It's live right now. We had some that they still did for the Vegas event, but the two big ones is we had Kansas City, and then I forget the event we had after that, but we had one more. And look, the people that were placing the bets won. Like they won money. And FanDuel couldn't be more excited. Like we had over $1 million bet on pickleball in the first two events. So that means people are interested. They're engaged. Like we crushed the numbers. We like 200x'd what their expectations were for people betting on pickleball. So they couldn't be happier with the amount of people that are engaged with sports betting and pickleball. The thing is now is we've got to kind of go back, and they're pressing pause. And obviously we don't have any say here, but the odds that they were offering, I mean, the people won. So they're trying to figure that out. I mean, I think they didn't quite understand how dominant Ben was. And a lot of money got bet on Ben, and a lot of people won. People are like, oh, I can bet $100 on Ben and get $10 back. I'm going to do that all day. Yeah. So, but yes, we're going to see that grow. And this year, FanDuel got a head start because pickleball was something they believed in. But, look for it to be added on a lot more books. We're talking DraftKings, BetMGM,
Nice.
PointsBet. Everyone wants it. I mean, my prediction is it ends up being one of the most gambled on sports here if it follows in the way of table tennis and racket sports. There's just so much you can do with it.
Yeah, that's great. That's exciting. And I fully expect that to bring in a whole new audience, both in the U.S. and well beyond, because obviously I think a lot of the gambling stuff comes from overseas. And eyeballs on a fun sport that you can wager on is a good thing.
Yeah, and like overseas, they have been betting on pickleball far longer than FanDuel. Like we were actually up and going for about 6 months before, so it's been going for a while. Yeah, a lot of people didn't know that.
Were you taking the bets? Were you the bookie?
No, they've got some books over there, but we're excited. I think the sport's going to grow. That's one of the few things that I've got blown up on for Twitter is like what's going on with gambling. People are going directly at me. So we're trying to get it figured out. We know everybody's excited. I think what's great is that like we're here gambling. We have the technology. We're delivering the live feeds. Like I don't know if people realize like how much had to go in to get gambling up and going. Really, it took me working with Tom. Like gambling was something I always wanted to do, but bringing someone in like Tom, who has a lot of experience in the sports world, he was able to put us in a position where we were able to really speed that up. So things like live scoring, like referees with iPads instead of score sheets, like data, like understanding the data, sending the data to the right place, state regulations, like there was so much that went into it, and all the legwork's done now. Now we just got to make sure, FanDuel and DraftKings and all these people have it right, so it's a good investment for them.
That's great. Well, that's exciting. We're excited for it. Thank you so much, Connor. Really appreciate the time that you take with us, and we're just always incredibly impressed with what you're able to pull off at such a young age, and you do it with enthusiasm and with a big smile on your face. So we appreciate it, and we can't wait to see what is to happen next on the PPA Tour, and we're going to be pulling for the Utah Black Diamonds at this upcoming MLP.
We're getting out of pool play, okay? We're getting out of pool play. MLP is going to be awesome. Like, would love to have you all out. Like, be ready to come out here for a month. Like, we got a lot going on, at least 3 weeks.
We'll be there. We'll be there for at least a week. We can promise you that.
All right, guys. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.